Okay, hi and welcome to Shoulder Guy TV. My name is Luke and I'm the Shoulder Guy. Listen, I've got a little email recently regarding someone who's doing a powerlifting program, and they don't have a shoulder injury right now, but they're just a bit concerned as to what might happen down the track if they continue to focus on the exercises that they're doing. They're looking for some tips and tricks, and also probably a way to understand or indicate when things might be going wrong. So I guess the best way to sort of answer those questions and to help you there at home if you are a beginner, you're out there powerlifting, you're in the gym right now, is to understand a few things about your body and some of the ways that your exercise choices can contribute to your pain, and also some of the things that can happen and the dominance of particular muscles in your body that can actually produce shoulder instability. They can make muscle growth and hypertrophy difficult to achieve, and can actually lead to a shoulder pain problem and potentially you having to stop your program, which is something that we all hate doing. We don't want to stop, we want to keep going. So I'm just going to start here now. Now the big things are that most programs are going to include these. If you can see those, they're going to include bench pressing. They're going to include some rows, some pulls, some deadlifts and some presses. And this is what this gentleman that wrote into me was doing as part of his powerlifting program. So if you have a look at all those there, only the exercise in the blue really is a total whole body movement. It's involving the whole kinetic chain, if that makes sense. It's going to involve your feet all the way up through to your shoulders and into your neck. So it's a fantastic exercise. The other exercises are more specific. The bench, certainly, if you're lying down on a bench, then the rest of your body is immobile. It's not doing a damn thing. So the bench is certainly targeted to your chest and shoulders. The rows, although it's in the opposite and at the back half, which is great, so we're looking for some balance here, it's still fairly specific to the fairly large muscles of the lats and the shoulders, the scapula, all those muscles. Same thing with pulls. You're going to do exactly that as well. You're going to be focusing on the lats. Same with overhead presses. You're going to be then focusing on the shoulder. So the majority of these exercises, if that makes sense, are exercises that are doing this to you. They're increasing your strength into internal rotation. They're increasing your strength to bring things towards your body, either with your pecs or certainly through extension with your lats. Okay, so this is really important to understand. The only exercise that focuses on the other pattern, the extension pattern, is the deadlift. And that's a great exercise. So I've circled it there in blue and underlined it. That's the one you want to keep inside that program. Now this program is okay to keep doing. You've just got to understand that if you're a particular type of person that struggles with shoulder stability, if you're the particular type of person that has a structure which is focused and gains strength from having a flexed posture by including and activating pecs and lats, then you potentially can be making things worse by having these exercises as part of your dominant training program. Okay, so I've got a theory about all this, and it's called my Iceberg Theory of shoulder pain. So we see shoulder pain as the tip of the iceberg, but what's lying beneath? What's happening underneath that we need to really pay attention to? So overall, this whole program is really focused on a flexion pattern. So one that's flexed and internal rotating, focused on pulling things to us, which is certainly important for you if you were a caveman, you're running out there trying to capture food. So it's a natural way. We are very strong in these type of movements naturally. We really want to focus then all the other movements that are going in the opposite direction. But if we've got a program that's dominant in this flexion internal rotation pattern, then we're predominantly going to be dominating muscles that actually produce that movement. The lower kinetic chain, so things that are away from the shoulder, are really important to consider. So what's the muscle control like at the pelvis? So are the glutes actually active, or are people now hamstring dominant? This is really important. And also, what are the lats doing? Because the lats attach both to the pelvis and then come up into the front part of the arm here, what are they doing to help stabilize your overall body? Now I see that most people that are struggling for stability, that are struggling for strength, these two muscles are doing two different things. We'll find that the glutes are switched off. They're not active to help them extend and keep their pelvis stable. And their lats are trying to help pull the body down into a flex position so that they can get better leverage off using their body. So it's a really important pattern to be aware of. And you might see those people in the gym, or you might actually be one yourself, where you're starting to get the round thoracic curve here. And that's the way you dominate. That's the way you develop your strength when you are in the gym or when you're coming up against something that needs your strength. We want to be strong in a nice open pattern. And that takes a lot of work to do, and working differently and thinking differently. Quite often we'll then find with a program that's like this that we'll get a dominant muscle patterning. We'll get the pecs and lats are actually overactive. They start to dominate the shoulder, especially when things are challenging your shoulder stability. You'll have to change the way you move to continue. And the other massive loading that happens to the shoulder during these exercises is that there now becomes a problem with controlling the center of rotation. So a lot of exercises actually will involve the shoulder, and the center of rotation here for a majority of pushes and pulls is the shoulder joint. So if you can't control the center of rotation because you haven't been focusing on good scapular control and good rotator cuff activation, then you're going to have a problem eventually. The other point is leverage. Okay, we've got to look at moment arms and leverage. So when I take a weight and it comes down into a deep bench press position, the distance from my shoulder out here to the weight becomes greater, and therefore the leverage or the loading on my shoulder increases. So purely by just adjusting how you lift, by reducing the moment arm slightly, not going so deep, say down into a bench press, but maintaining the elbows in front of the body to keep the chest at a better muscle and length tension relationship, you're going to help to save your shoulders. That's so important, this concept of leverage and moment arms around the shoulder and controlling the center of rotation, the COR, by having a good functional and active rotator cuff. Now, this whole program and the trouble with dominant muscle patterns that can develop, and it's not dominant muscles per se, it's the activation, it's what lies behind all that, the neuromuscular activation of these muscles. So if you're just down there inputting the same pattern the whole time to your brain, then you're going to develop a pretty good way of moving, but it's actually particular to that pattern. And this is what can lead then to inhibition of some muscles, but overactivity of others. Okay, so there's imbalance there, not from a muscle size point of view, but actually from an activity point of view. We've got key muscles that should be stabilizing, like the glutes, like the rotator cuff, like the scapula stabilizers, that become inhibited in these postures because now we've got an overactive system, on the other hand, of lats, of pecs, of potentially hamstrings and other muscles that are having to fire up because these other ones are inhibited. And what I find then is that those muscles that work and might lie away from the shoulder joint can have a huge impact on the shoulder joint because then it produces this inhibition and overactivity. Then we see instability at the shoulder, especially when it's challenged, when the arm's away from your body. And then ultimately for the bodybuilder, that leads to a decrease in hypertrophy. You're going to have trouble building muscle around your shoulder. You might have actually trouble building muscle around your arms, your shoulders, so the deltoids, the biceps, the chest. In fact, you might find that that's underdeveloped, and what actually is overdeveloped and overactive are the hamstrings, are the lats dorsi, the big lats muscle. But you find it difficult to get a good bench press going, you find it difficult to actually get a good functional shoulder press going, and now you're ending up with instability and shoulder pain. So this is a cascade of events that can happen over time. It's not always apparent straight away, but through repetition, through overuse, through overloading, then inhibition and overactivity, slowly but surely, the deck of cards start to fall away and the house crumbles. So this is a massive thing to be aware of, especially for you guys out there bodybuilding and also powerlifting too. You've got to get some balance between pushes and pulls, but also you've got to focus on some of those key areas around these very important centers of rotation. Okay? I really hope that helps. This is just the start of what you need to do. It's an educational video to give you some idea as to what could be going on. Now, the exercise choices need to change, obviously, and we need to really focus on scapular control and rotator cuff activation too. So that's another video for another time, but hopefully this helps you to bring you some information and give you a heads up as to what can happen.